hard that he's going to fucking come on the broadcast like in a couple weeks again. Yeah, the Plattner clip of him dancing with a tattoo were in front of his Jewish in-laws. They never mentioned that part. Yeah, it's kind of funny and kind of stupid. But in any case, guys, be smart. Be smart. Okay? The point is, this kind of attack doesn't work anymore. Hey, please do a call-out post for this guy. Hey, Hassan, do a call-out post for this politician. All I care about is drama. Please feed me. Yeah, there are a lot of people who want to do this kind of thing. They're well-intentioned, but they don't fully comprehend what's going on. It's like the same people that think like, well, Zoran threw you under the bus. Like when he said, when he literally said on the spot, like, I don't agree with his comments on 9/11, but I'm not going to apologize for going on his broadcast. It's part of the reason why Democrats keep losing, because they refuse to go on podcasts like this. Remember? And everyone was like, whoa, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, bro, we literally fucking, I played a role in that sword falling operation. I can say it now because he won the election, so it doesn't fucking matter, right? If these Jewish advocacy groups were serious about protecting Jewish Americans, they would appreciate people who talk about Israel like you do, because this is the last line of defense against anti-Israel equals anti-Jew. I know. The problem is with the neocons in a party who blundered into Iraq, 20 years in Afghanistan, Libya, and Gaza, now support the Iran war. Out with the old guard. We need a new moral direction, Ro Khanna wrote, prompting Bennett to call on Khanna directly to do more to oppose anti-Semitism. We do not support the Iran war. We have publicly and strenuously opposed it, but we do stand against anti-Semitism. It would be good if you did too. When Khanna posted a message on X condemning Thursday's active shooter attack on a suburban Detroit synagogue, Jim Kessler, another senior third way official, offered a verbal eye roll. Yada, 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 Kessler wrote. Like, you're betraying the severity of the crisis at hand by literally talking about people who actively do advocate against anti-Semitism, actively do a lot to combat anti-Semitism, and then also showcasing like fucking verbal eye rolls as though they are sincere criticisms, right? If you're doing that, then like you clearly don't give a shit even about the synagogue attack, you know? If this is an opportunity for you to fucking complain about people who have never said anything anti-Semitic, like if this is an opportunity for you to fight your own internal Democratic Party war because you're so mad that the Democratic base is no longer on the side of fucking Israel, right? Then you're not sincere about combating anti-Semitism at all. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, let these guys chirp. They're chirping into the fucking wind, right? There is a version of this that took place as well with obviously the number one creator of anti-Semitism, the number one educator of anti-Semitism, perhaps the worst possible person tasked with combating anti-Semitism, Jonathan Greenblatt, where he went on CNN to talk about this, the synagogue attack that took place. Okay. And what did he do? He immediately said, why people are attacking Jewish people for the actions of the Jewish state. And it's like, bro, you are crazy. You are a crazy person. The ADL has been celebrating this war and despicably connecting it to Judaism from the start. Today is Purim, a holiday when we celebrate the thwarted plot to annihilate the Jewish people of Persia, modern-day Iran, and the courage of those who stood up against hatred. This year, Purim story feels closer than ever. The former Iranian regime supreme leader Ali Khamenei, a man who openly and obsessively called for the destruction of the Jewish state of Israel and the death of Jews worldwide, is a stark reminder of how the themes of this holiday echo in the present day. That's a crazy thing to say, big dog. Like, 80% of Americans, whether they agree with it or not, think that or understand that this was like Israel's war and we're fighting Israel's war for them, right? So for you to turn around and be like, this is just like the Purim story is fucking crazy. Because guess what? You might not recognize it right now, but the overwhelming majority of Americans also don't like that we're fighting Israel's war. like, I know people immediately rush to say, oh, this kind of like attack is, a false flag or whatever. But I don't think the synagogue one was a false flag. I think it was blowback. There's usually two types of domestic terror that takes place on U.S. soil. Blowback, which is real. It's like sincere, right? Or false flags. This one is blowback. It's an unconscionable act of violence. Luckily, none of the kids or no one in the synagogue was harmed. There is no justification for it as far as like the synagogue's own allegiance to the IDF, right? I'm not going to fucking sit here and be like, that's appropriate, right? It's not. It's ridiculous. And I will never fucking allow any commentary in that regard. Having said that, however, the connection between Judaism and Zionism, the connection between Jews and Israel is literally held together by Jewish institutions, including but not limited to this synagogue and many synagogues around the fucking country and every single Jewish advocacy group. You got to cut it out. You got to fucking sever those ties, man. It's crazy. And that still probably won't stop the explosive growth of anti-Semitism in this country. But like it's ridiculous that like even at this point when Israel's popularity has completely fucking tanked, and you still have these institutions, these Jewish institutions, these advocacy groups straight up saying, no, you don't understand. We love Israel. We love Israel. It's the only thing we care about. It's the only thing we focus on. Us Jews, we love Israel. We love everything that Israel does. And if you say anything about Israel, then fuck you. Like when you do that, of course people are going to be like, all right, bet.
So look.
Yeah. I mean, dude, even like Asen and Aaron Rupar is like cooking Jonathan Greenblatt's ass here, right? And we'll talk about Matt Stoller's interesting approach. Not interesting, but like correct approach to this. The guy's family was killed last week by Israel and he was taking revenge. That's wrong. Murder is wrong. But this is some uptick of anti-Semitism, is blowback. A lot of us have been saying that Israel is bad for the Jews. We reject that. We have to reject that country. American Jews used our leverage to promote and protect the state of Israel. That was a mistake, but we did it. Now we have to accept our responsibility for fixing the situation instead of whining about anti-Semitism. You guys trying to win this culture war nonsense isn't going to work. Matt Stoller is Jewish, and he's been popping off on this issue. You guys trying to win this culture war nonsense isn't going to work. Israel's deeply unpopular on both sides of the aisle for good reasons. It's over for the U.S.-Israel alliance. And it's crazy because, like, there are still motherfuckers out there that are like, no, it's actually the anti-Semitism of the left. This is the most anti-Semitic thing you could have said. The reason why people are attacking synagogues is because there are bad Jews out there who are saying Israel is not connected. Israel is disconnected from Jews. You're out of your fucking mind, brother. Your refusal to recognize the writing on the wall is unironically pushing people in this fucking direction. It's devastating. It's terrifying. It's ridiculous. Anyone genuinely worried about the prospect of anti-Semitism would immediately call for an end to the U.S.-Israel alliance. Otherwise, you're just a faker seeking ethno-nationalism. I watched Jim Cramer advocating for the wholesale slaughtering of Iranians so the stock market would go up. He then apologized for his co-anchor said, no need. Can we stop pretending the fear of anti-Semitism is some sort of moral cause? Our leaders regularly brag about their cruelty. Like, he goes a little bit harder than I would. I mean, he's Jewish. But he goes a little bit harder than I would in this situation. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like anti-Semitism is irrelevant or whatever, but I will make an honest and sober assessment about anti-Semitism in comparison to other like systemic versions of discrimination that we're seeing explode in real time, unfold in real time as a direct response to like Israel's popularity waning. But throughout history, when people were bigoted towards a group based on their country, that group has always tried to distance themselves. Japanese Americans during World War II worked as hard as possible to say we are not the Empire of Japan. American Jewish organizations seemingly decided to do the opposite and is suicidal. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. Like, I've been saying this for years at this point. It's literally like if Muslims were running around being like, excuse me, 9/11 is a radical act by the most honest actor of all time, Osama fucking bin Laden, and it was awesome. And also on top of that, you better not criticize Al-Qaeda because that's true Islam, except that never fucking happened. And you know what happened instead? Muslims kept saying, this is not us. And American media was like, fuck it. Actually, Muslims are saying this is us. Like, there is not a single fucking mosque in this goddamn country that was like running around fundraising for ISIS. Can you imagine, dude? Can you imagine a fucking mosque just straight up fundraising for ISIS, like trying to offer material support to ISIS? It would be fucking it's illegal. It's utterly illegal. And yet you got synagogues doing it for the IDF. And yes, the unpopularity of Israel, even though Israel and ISIS are basically fucking two peas in a pod, right? But most people are obviously still oblivious to that reality, but they're not seeing Israel as a popular nation any longer. It's not. It's fallen out of fucking fashion. So when Jewish institutions do unironically try to combat all of the anti-Israel wave by being incredibly annoying, incredibly entitled, constantly demanding censorship, constantly demanding that people get fired, right? What the fuck do you think the people's reaction is going to be? They're going to be like, fuck you. And it's so crazy that, like, a lot of these guys, maybe it's because of my position, like being on the left flank of American politics, is crazy that so many of these dudes that spend a great deal of time, quote unquote, combating anti-Semitism when they're not actually combating anti-Semitism, but fomenting it by connecting Israel to Jews around the world and saying there is a monolithic Jewry from one side of their mouths, and then simultaneously saying, if you say there's a monolithic Jewry, it's anti-Semitic on the other side of their mouths, which is, by the way, literally the weird juxtaposition, the contradiction here is literally baked into the IHRA, International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. It doesn't make any sense. On the one hand, they will correctly point to the idea of a monolithic Jewry as a deeply anti-Semitic conspiracy. On the other hand, they will say all Jews are monolithic, and if you fucking criticize Israel, you're criticizing the monolithic Jewry. You are no different than Nick Fuentes, brother. You're fucking insane. I've been warning about this non-fucking stop. The ADL, if it was actually earnest about its goals, equivalent for Muslims would be something like CARE. And CARE's primary job for the last 25 years is to say that whenever an act of terror is committed by a Muslim group, we as Muslims are horrified and do not condone it. The ADL has never done that and will never do the same for Israel. Of course, the ADL's primary job is to say it was awesome that Israel did an act of terrorism and it was for the Jews. It was for the Jews. It was awesome. And if you actually fucking are horrified by this act of terrorism that Israel commits with impunity, with unlimited tax-funded bombs, then you're a fucking anti-Semite and you hate Jews. You're a Jew hater. It's fucking insane. The dam was inevitably going to break, and now it's fucking broken, and these guys still don't see it. Yeah, let's see what Greenblatt had to say to Wolf Blitzer. By the way, Wolf Blitzer literally worked for AIPAC, okay? Like, love Wolf Blitzer, okay? That's my goat. That's my sexual panther. But, I mean, he straight up fucking worked for AIPAC. Jake Tapper is a massive Zionist. So is Dana Fash. It's crazy. So is fucking Maoist third worldist Van Jones, right? Like,
we're seeing Jewish people, the Jewish state, blamed for the war in the Middle East. That is wrong. It is wrong to scapegoat. It is wrong to hold Jewish people accountable for something you don't like on the other side of the planet. And we really need leaders on all sides in politics, running.
Like, bro, do you not understand what you're doing? You literally just said the Jewish state, okay? You can't say both of those things at the same fucking time. You can't say both of those things at the same damn time, okay? It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Especially because, like, normally I would say Americans are not very, Americans broadly are not like the smartest or the most woke when it comes to this shit. And it's like complex narratives or nuance is oftentimes lost in the conversation. That's why it's much easier for Americans to like oppose Israel by being anti-Semitic rather than oppose Israel on the grounds of anti-Zionism, on the grounds of anti-fascism, on the grounds of being anti-genocide, right? So oftentimes it's a little bit of both. However, when you do this argument, there is no nuance. You're literally saying, how dare Americans blame Jews for the actions of the Jewish state? What the fuck is the average American going to think when you say that on CNN? It's ridiculous.
For office, podcasters, to stop with the conspiracies, to stop with the accusations, and then tell us, but we oppose anti-Semitism. You don't get to say you're opposed to hate if you're trafficking in hateful conspiracy theories.
You're doing the hateful conspiracy, you fucking idiot. You're the one who's like, Israel lasered entire city blocks, leading to 750,000 Lebanese people evacuating from their homes. 750,000 people have been displaced in Lebanon, okay? Once again, thousands killed in the hands of Israel. And you personally connect that back to Jews. And then you also say it's actually good that this happened. And if you criticize this, then you hate the Jews. What the fuck are people supposed to think?
Everyone needs to dial down the rhetoric, to take a step back, and to start doing something to stop this epidemic before it gets even worse.
And it's continuing all over the country right now, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, at ADL, we focus on protecting...
Yes, I know he's talking about me. That's why he didn't mention me by name, but normally he does. But he's like, how can you say you oppose anti-Semitism? There is like not a single other person at my level in media right now that opposes Israel that will actively take the time out to also sever the ties of Jews in Israel. So there's only one guy he must be talking about. It's me. Maybe Tucker Carlson, who also will insincerely every now and then bring that up and be like, I don't hate the Jews. I love the Jews. You know, like he'll say stuff like that. That's it. It's like me and fucking Tucker Carlson. Everyone else at our size is straight up not doing that. They're literally all saying, yeah, it's the Jews. So there's not a lot of people who he could be referencing. Okay. No, he said podcasters. Like, obviously, Zohar Mamdani is a politician. That's different. I guess Mehdi Hassan, too. He doesn't get a lot of... He doesn't eat it as hard as I do, though, by the ADL at least. Unc cooking a caller on this. Yeah, I mean, we all know where it's coming from, too. It's because Zionism is indefensible, especially liberal Zionism is indefensible. The juxtaposition is set in. The ideology itself is ultranationalist. The ideology itself is fascist. The ideology of Zionism is built around Jewish ethno-religious supremacy. It's built around the foundational principles of ethnic cleansing of all of the non-Jews in the region. And that's precisely what Israel has done. So it's not even like something you can deny. You can't just be like, oh, well, it's just an ideology. It's not, what's the problem here? I mean, they're acting out these desires, right? So because you can't fucking defend that, because it's an inherently contradictory concept, especially because Zionism still very much relies on unlimited support from liberal nations in the West, you just have one option, which is to constantly say, how dare you? You're anti-Semitic. You need to stop talking. And that shit used to work. 5 years ago, that shit used to work, especially because most people had not really thought about Israel at all or had a positive opinion of Israel in general. Yeah, no, they hate Mehdi Hassan too. They do call him a jihadist. They do. That's true. Actually, you know what? You're right. It literally is just people that are at our level in the media that are actively trying to fucking cut ties between Judaism and Zionism that consistently get fucking attacked. It is kind of crazy. Like, they do not spend this much time or effort on Nick Fuentes, bro. They do not even spend this much time and effort on Candace fucking Owens. It's just motherfuckers who literally are saying like, no, dude, no, it's not. This is something separate. Please stop. Sam Cedar doesn't get hit as hard because he's Jewish. I think that's part of the reason. But yeah, if you're Muslim and doing it, they're like, nope, you're a terrorist. You're a fucking Islamist fundamentalist.
And Zionism. That's the problem you have. You need to defend the idea that there can be no democracy in Israel, that it must be an exclusionary project, that it leads to expansion.
Yo, Unc, I don't know if the hairline pills are working anymore, my boy. It might be time to take a trip back home if possible. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Look at my hairline. It's literally the same as it's been for the last decade at this point. Like, I literally started taking hairline pills in fucking 2017. You're a 54-month subscriber. You've been in here for the longest goddamn time. You know that is literally unchanging, and you're trying to fucking piss me off.
And taking of other people's land and liberty and life. That's what you need to defend. Defend that. When you talk about anti-Semitism, what you're doing is putting Jewish lives in danger, because you're saying it's inherent in the Jew to support these policies that lead to apartheid. It's inherent in the Jew, you're saying. You're saying it's inherent in the Jew to be expansionist and kill unarmed civilians. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
And I resent it. And it endangers me and my family, and I don't appreciate it. So get the F out of here with that.
Widow's Peak looking like an island. I got the same thing going on. It's okay. Your mom loves my fucking adult hairline, okay? Suck my dick. Benjamin Netanyahu, I've promised you this war for more than 20 years. Now it's here, and we must rejoice. Jonathan Greenblatt, it's anti-Semitic to say this is Israel's war. If someone is pro-Palestinian, they should stop using that term. If it's an oxymoron, you can't be a liberal Nazi or a liberal fascist. Yeah, I mean, I've said it. Matt got some flack for this tweet, and I must say I do disagree with his takes here. I get the gist, and the thing, QRT is dumb as fuck, but I think it's blatantly false and not constructive. Anti-Semitism can be a real thing, irrespective of the Zionism crowd. This feels overcorrective. There is no anti-Semitism on the left, none, and anti-Semitism isn't a meaningful political problem in America. Just stop it. I mean, I think he's being fucking aggro. It's just, here's what it is, okay? Of course, there's different versions of racism and bigotry in every aspect and in every facet of American political existence. This is the exact same way that people on the right cynically attacked Jeremy Corbyn. They were like, well, Labor has a anti-Semitism problem. Were there Labor Party members that had said things that could be anti-Semitic, could be considered anti-Semitic? Of course there were, right? But at the end of the day, you got one party that is like literally propping up statues of Nancy Astor. The conservatives at the time were doing this, right? In the Tory government. And the entirety of the media was slamming Jeremy Corbyn on anti-Semitism allegations. Nancy Astor famously said Hitler had the right idea about the Jews. Okay? Like, anti-Semitism exists in every facet of American politics. It's true. But you have to literally look at the one side that is like comprised entirely of Holocaust deniers, and the other side that's like, yeah, I think Jewish exceptionalism is out of control, or some people who have gotten to a point where they're like, you know what? Maybe it's fucked up that Jews are all over Hollywood. You know what I mean? That's not acceptable, but you got to fucking pick your battles at a certain point, right? Like, if one side is literally arguing on the basis of whether or not Jews are white any longer, because that's what the fucking right-wing side is major point of contention is, and the other side is saying, no, Jews are white, which is why we shouldn't be fucking treating like anti-Jewish sentiment in any way, shape, or form as though it's different than like being fucking anti-Italian or whatever. Like, you can have an issue with both of those statements, but like obviously one is a much more consequential problem than the other, right? Like I understand the thing that Matt is trying to say here. And yes, Corbyn wasn't even remotely anti-Semitic. Obviously, they were just like bullying him and successfully anchoring his campaign around that. But like, do you see what I mean? This isn't to say that anti-Semitism isn't an issue. It's a bigotry, of course, as all bigotries, and it is different than like anti-white versions of bigotry. Anti-whiteness is not like associated with any sort of like historic systemic discrimination. Anti-Semitism at least is associated with some very heinous historic discrimination against Jews. You don't have the same thing for like white people broadly, but anti-Semitism for the average person, person's perspective in the United States of America in 2026 is seen as like, you know, white people crying. That's what it's seen as broadly, right? And depending on your outlook, okay, what is this? You sound borderline anti-Semitic for Jews, especially you are Arab by birth. This proves exactly what I'm saying. This motherfucker literally went and said, hey, do you have a nuanced approach to anti-Semitism and systemic forms of discrimination, as your advocacy has been anchored around combating hatred of all different sorts for the past 13 fucking years? You sound Arab by birth. You just proved my fucking point. Like this right here, especially you are Arab by birth. One, I'm not even Arab. I'm Turkish. Doesn't matter, right? My name is Hasan. You're like, oh, Hasan, Muslim name. That's Arab. You're Arab. But like, especially, like the sentence modification there with especially, or the even the notion, if you were like, well, you're Turkish, of course you fucking hate Jews. That in and of itself is racist, you fucking moron. Your incapability of hearing what I'm saying and then immediately assuming that I must hold these opinions, not because this is something that I have studied, something that I have learned about, something that I care about, something that I've talked about tirelessly, endlessly. You just automatically go, Arab. Like, that's it. You have just proven my fucking point. You're being racist, dumbass. And you don't even recognize it because it's so normalized in your fucking circles. This is the point. Assign Arab at birth is ironically a good way to describe how America's post 9/11 see everyone from North Africa to South Asia. Yes. In any case, that's the difference, right? And that wouldn't be as consequential. I'm Polish. My family saved Jews during World War II, and nowadays we support Palestine. Your rhetoric is childish. Look alive, guys. A Polish man is talking about bigotry while being bigoted. Unsurprising. Hasan's crash out to being called Arab is the most Turkish thing he's ever done. No, man. I don't give a fuck when people call me Arab or whatever. Obviously, I stand with all people, okay? I don't give a shit. I stand with all people that are marginalized. I will defend them. I will always offer a voice to the voiceless. It's ridiculous. My point is, he is the one who's grouping everyone together, and he's saying that, like, this is Arab behavior. There is a metric ton of stupidity associated with an analysis like that. But anyway, the other side of this, anti-Semitism isn't a meaningful problem in America. For the time being, anti-Semitism, as Jews are still considered a part of the white class, right, as a part of the in-group, hasn't gotten to that degree. But there's a long way for Jews to go from being treated like white people, which they are being treated as currently, to being treated like black people, which is the lowest version of like the highest degree of systemic discrimination, right? Because like the question for Jews now in the upcoming decade is like, are they white or are they not white? What they're actually going to be bracketed off in the interim is going to be like Muslims, okay? Probably not to the same severity, but you know, when you get knocked down a peg from whiteness, you go to like Muslim category, okay? there's still many different rungs to go through. No, it's not going to be the same severity, dude. I'm saying if you were, what do you mean? If it was up to Nick Fuentes, you think it wouldn't be the same severity? It would be. I'm saying, like, depending on how much they lean into, Jews are not white, actually, and they're responsible for, with all their trickery, they're responsible for all of this stuff. You know, you could see that getting to a serious systemic form of discrimination. It's just not there yet, okay? Ben Lorber, as time goes on, Jewish anti-Zionism reveals itself not only as solidarity with the Palestinians, but also as an anti-Semitism strategy. We want out of this toxic dialectic, this terrible feedback loop between Israeli belligerence and Jewish precarity it incessantly engenders. The sick irony is that Zionism was supposed to make Jews safe, but building up a Jewish Sparta, as Arendt once called it, Hannah Arendt, at the crossroads of empire, did the opposite. I saw someone in Israel tweet, "Next time they give us a chosen land, we say no." It was the funniest Hebrew tweet I've ever fucking read. It's like, I guess after like the incessant, intense bombing campaigns, there was a dude in Israel who was like, you know what, guys? Next time someone offers us next time God offers us a chosen land, we say no. We reject it. Okay, I'm good. I'm good on this. I'm washing my hands of this shit. We'll just stay where we're at. Okay, it's not good. As Aaron was called, at the crossroads of empire, did the opposite. Today, the Israeli war machine, fueled by siege mentality, feeds on the anti-Semitism birthed out of its entrails. Attacks on Jewish diaspora communities are morally inexcusable. They're also bound to occur when communal representatives proclaim our collective allegiance to a pariah state pursuing some of the greatest atrocities of a still young century. Exactly. You can't literally live stream the Holocaust and then say, it's awesome that it's happening and you should shut the fuck up. This is for the Jews. And then when people go, what the fuck? I guess it is for the Jews. I hate the Jews now. You go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, it's unacceptable and it's horrifying. I understand that. I've been trying to actively stop it to the best of my ability. But every fucking institution that's supposed to be tasked with combating anti-Semitism is dug deep inside of my asshole instead of also analyzing this very clear contradiction and trying to address it. And even for someone like myself, it gets a little insincere and it gets a little silly where on the one hand, we literally have children being fucking slaughtered en masse by Israel that calls itself the Jewish state, that wears the banner of the Star of David, that's propping up fucking menorahs and shit during Hanukkah in stolen Palestinian land and saying this is for the Jews. And then the Western, the home front propaganda also revolves around forcibly associating Jews with Israel. And then I have to sit here and consistently talk about like the dangers of anti-Semitism. It gets a little ridiculous after a while because like if you're looking at the actual actions of the fucking Nazi state and its advocacy and all of its envoys here in the Western world, I look insincere to the average person. It turns into a Latinx conversation, okay? I'm trying to be too woke. To the average person, they literally look at me and go, "You're so woke, brother. We get it." Like, okay, sure, okay? That's literally what it's turning into now. At least in the beginning, there was like more room to try and sever the ties of Israel and Jews, especially Jews in the Western world. But like 2 years after the fact, yeah, motherfuckers look at me like I'm saying Latinx anytime I talk about anti-Semitism and its dangers, okay? That's what it's getting to. And that's really dangerous because like Latinx is a silly fucking moniker. It's ridiculous, right? But what that spells for American political discourse implies that people don't want to talk about anti-Semitism anymore. People don't give a fuck about anti-Semitism anymore because they see anti-Semitism as the primary vector to combat Israel. You don't want it to get there. And I've tried to stop that from happening, but these very same institutions that are supposed to be tasked with fucking combating this shit are more predisposed with yelling at me, calling me a fucking Nazi for calling Israel